This is a 17 News special.
Our mission is to retain and recruit high-value jobs.
Most people don't realize what's being proposed.
Tonight, an investigation into a proposed hydrogen energy power plant built right here in Kern County.
It's really not that clean.
There is so much danger involved.
It's said to be the cleanest fossil fuel-based plant in the nation, but opponents claim it's no more than a glorified coal plant.
Bottom line is this is a bad fit for this area.
This is an economic boom.
Does the lure of hundreds of jobs coming from a $4 billion investment make it worth it?
I like to view this as a win-win-win situation.
We're opposed to this plan 100%.
Hydrogen energy, pollution or solution? Here's Katie Roosh.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of 17 News at 6. Tonight we're doing something we've never done before, devoting an entire newscast to one issue, hydrogen energy, California, a power plant proposed right here in Kern County. Whether this plan is good for Kern County remains a point of contention. In fact, the idea is so divisive, even the pronunciation of its name is controversial. We have long called it HECA, but recently that pronunciation has become contentious. So for the purposes of this story, we'll call it what the developer calls it, HECA, short for Hydrogen Energy, California. 23 miles west of downtown Bakersfield sits a ranch past its glory. But peek past the overgrown brush and you'll see there's plans to change this plot of land forever.
I get calls for requests for tours of the site on a weekly basis, and we haven't even broken ground.
The concept is simple. Use the abundant resource of coal to make clean energy.
It's good for the state, it's good for the nation.
Here's their idea. Get coal and an oil refinery byproduct, then gasify the combination. In other words, heat it, creating hydrogen gas. That hydrogen will then be burned to generate electricity, and as a byproduct, make fertilizer.
A lot of people don't realize that California imports over 90% of its fertilizer.
The revolutionary part is what it will do with its carbon dioxide emissions, capturing the greenhouse gas and sending it via pipeline to the nearby Elk Hills oil field to enhance oil recovery and store the gas.
The intention is to show a new way to generate, alternative energy, low carbon power.
A concept fully supported by President Obama.
If we can develop the technology to capture the carbon pollution released by coal, it can create jobs and provide energy well into the future.
Which is exactly why the Department of Energy is backing the SCS Energy project financially, one of only 3 power plants to receive funding nationally.
This project has global and national attention and significance.
But to opponents, that's the fairy tale version of the story.
Okay, it's false advertising to say this is clean energy.
A group called Neighbors of HECA, their pronunciation, say this plant will pollute the air, deplete our water supplies, and store millions of gallons of lethal chemicals.
There is so much danger involved.
A fear expressed by another community when SCS proposed a plant in New Jersey. Called Pure Gen 1, it was almost identical to hydrogen energy, except it planned to store CO2 beneath the ocean floor.
Pure Gen plant goes on the site right here.
But when Governor Chris Christie came out against the proposal, SCS canceled the project and bought HECA, bringing its sales pitch to the small town of Tupman, California.
It's a mile and a half. We're exactly a mile and a half downwind.
The proposed site has long been farmland, formerly managed by Sam Ackerman.
It's going to be a big boom for it. Right now, I don't know if you've been through Buttonwillow or Tupman, it's kind of like I don't want to say dying town, but it's surely on the decline.
Its current population, 210.
School and a post office. That's it.
With high area poverty and unemployment, making HECA an attractive prospect for one big reason.
Jobs.
2,000 plus construction jobs over 4 years, and an agreement with the union ensures all of those jobs will be local people.
It's huge. This is a $4 billion project.
And 200 full-time jobs for 25 years with an annual payroll of $21 million.
It's good for Kern County. It's good for Made in America.
And potentially good for area schools and county budgets.
And it's going to benefit Taft, Tupman, Shafter, Buttonwillow, Wasco.
HECA estimates it will pay nearly $30 million annually in property tax, making HECA the fourth biggest property taxpayer in Kern County. Despite all the money involved, HECA would not be a big power plant. Developers estimate it will generate about 300 megawatts, but critics say it will use most, if not all, of that electricity on itself and its activities in the Elk Hills oil field. According to the California Energy Commission, during its peak power production, only 51 megawatts will make it to the grid for public use. During maximum fertilizer production, it will actually use power, 61 megawatts, taking away enough energy to power 33,000 homes.
A tremendous amount of energy is going into this plant. Very little, if any, is going to come out.
Which is why opponents like Tom Franz say building the plant isn't worth it, especially when it comes to emissions.
When you have the worst air in the nation, having a coal plant here is not a good fit.
While the plant will capture carbon dioxide, it will still release 500 tons of other pollutants into the air each year, a notion that is especially scary to the unofficial mayor of Tupman.
The prevailing wind, 99% of the time, is right out of that direction. That's the northwest. Southwest to Tupman, 1.5 miles.
Where 200 children attend Elk Hills Elementary School.
We don't need it here in the southern part of Kern County where the air is the dirtiest that it can get.
But is HECA any more dirty than other fossil-fueled power plants?
The fact is that it is producing emissions at about the same rate as a natural gas-fired power plant.
That is true if you use HECA's megawatt estimates, but if you base it on the California Energy Commission's numbers, the plant would be one of the dirtiest in Kern County, surpassed only by 3 wood-burning facilities. That's why the San Joaquin Valley Air District says it required HECA to make a one-time payment of $9 million to invest in pollution reduction projects in the area.
Well, we've promised to preferentially use it in Kern County and the South Valley. Doesn't mean that we won't use it somewhere else in the San Joaquin Valley.
To further mitigate its emissions, HECA also bought air credits, something a Valley company can earn when it dramatically reduces air emissions, then sells to companies that pollute.
This system is designed by Congress, actually, in the Federal Clean Air Act, specifically to allow economic growth in areas that have poor air quality.
HECA bought $16 million worth of credits from companies in Bakersfield and Kingsburg, enough to offset all of its emissions.
They're actually providing more reductions than they are creating in increases.
But the problem for opponents is the majority of these air credits were earned 20 to 30 years ago, meaning emission reductions actually happened in the 1990s and 80s.
If the credits weren't there, the economic growth would not be there.
Which is why last fall the Air District gave HECA the stamp of approval. Air quality issues are just the beginning of concerns about hydrogen energy.
This is far beyond anything I've ever been familiar with.
The plant has the potential to fill Kern County landfills at an alarming rate, and 2 deadly chemicals stored by the millions of gallons with potential impacts for thousands in Bakersfield. It's next on this special edition of 17 News at 6. With deserts of solar panels and mountains covered in windmills, it's apparent Kern County has a lot of alternative energy. HECA would only enhance that reputation. But to get that notoriety, Kern County is going to have to take on the many byproducts of HECA, potentially explosive, lethal, and massive. Crowded by seagulls. You see what you expect at Kern County landfills. Residential trash. But someday soon it may be filled only with a substance like this. Because if approved, HECA will gasify coal, not completely burn it. So there will be a waste byproduct.
It's described to me as a slag, as little chunks.
The material is expected to be non-hazardous and safe for landfills, but the quantity may fill our limited dump sites.
It's a lot.
Up to 940 tons per day. According to the county, that's as much solid waste as all of unincorporated areas in Kern produce in 24 hours.
This is far beyond anything I've ever been familiar with.
This amount would put Kern County out of compliance with state regulations, which require the county to recycle 50% of its waste.
Ultimately, the state can fine the county as much as $10,000 a day.
But HECA says that won't happen because this material can be sold and recycled. Although it doesn't have a buyer yet, HECA says it's identified 500 plus potential customers within 300 miles.
I know that they're putting in a lot of effort into it.
Then there's the storage of 2 ammonia products, explosive and potentially lethal. One is liquid anhydrous ammonia, used to make fertilizer at the plant. Commonly, it's used by farmers on crops, but it's dangerous if inhaled, something Mike Anton Giovanni experienced firsthand 39 years ago.
And it just cooked everything over time. And then within about 2 or 3 minutes, I was spitting up blood.
Rushed to the hospital, doctors didn't know if Anton Giovanni would survive.
The next morning, my wife gave birth to our 3rd son.
Today, he still feels the effects. He can't run and he can't smell.
It's good for changing babies' diapers because there's no smell, and that's been permanent.
Anton Giovanni's accident happened with a 250-gallon tank of anhydrous ammonia. HECA plans to have a pair of 2 million-gallon tanks.
I'm so concerned. What is the danger to my family?
According to the California Energy Commission, the most likely leak won't reach beyond the plant's fence line. But a total tank rupture, the EPA says that information is under confidential cover.
Confidential cover? What are they hiding?
Even the EPA urges HECA to disclose the worst-case scenario, because by the agency's estimates, fumes could reach as far as 25 miles into the heart of Bakersfield, an estimate HECA disagrees with.
It is so ultra-conservative that it's almost beyond anything that would ever happen.
Then there's the ammonium nitrate, a highly flammable fertilizer used in the Oklahoma City bombing and the cause of the deadly explosion near Waco, Texas last summer.
Well, the community of Tutman sits in the middle of 3 bombs then. HECA, energy propane plant that could blow up in the oil field.
The Energy Commission admits there is a risk for explosions, but says it's not like the plant in Texas for 2 reasons. 1, the facility will store nearly 6 times less ammonium nitrate, and 2, this ammonium nitrate will be a wet, less explosive version of the substance. Then there's the storage of CO2.
And what they want to put is a pipeline through there that's going to be right in back of Tutman.
That pipeline would carry carbon dioxide, 2.6 million tons of CO2 a year to Elk Hills, to be pumped into existing wells for enhanced production.
And they even have admitted that this can produce earthquakes, the CO2 injection into the ground.
That may be true according to a University of Austin, Texas study that claims CO2 injection incited 93 earthquakes in the Cogdell oil field in 1 year. All but 1 were below a magnitude 4. But the question remains, could that happen in Kern County?
The jury's still out, I think, on CO2 injection and increased seismicity.
But CSUB Professor Janice Gillespie says if there's a place to store CO2 in California, HECA has the right idea.
Here in the valley, we've got some of the biggest oil field storage reservoirs in California. And the biggest one by far is Elk Hills.
While HECA's location may be ideal for carbon dioxide storage, how ideal is it for our limited resources?
I don't think we can afford to give away any water.
Just ahead, the use of millions of gallons of water a day, thousands of truckloads of coal rumbling along country roads, past schools, and hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to make it happen. To make electricity, fertilizer, and carbon dioxide, HECA also plans to consume, namely water and coal, a consumption some feel may lead to the overuse of water and a constant stream of trucks through a city past homes and schools. Trucks this size pass by on these Wasco roads every day, but truck traffic here may soon double as big rigs become the primary carriers of coal from this terminal in Wasco to the hydrogen energy plant.
The trucks will be fully enclosed, of course.
Using this 27-mile route, a path that travels through Shafter, past farm fields, homes, and 2 schools.
Well, the main discussion really started probably about a year and a half ago.
Ernie Unruh is superintendent for both schools along the path.
Obviously, the start times of the school is a big concern of ours.
And so are the number of truck trips. The latest estimate is 150 round trips a day, 27 tons a load, and by our calculations, a truck in each direction every 10 minutes.
Utilizing a dedicated fleet of 13 trucks, and they'll be running on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week period.
That is in addition to 224 daily truck trips, taking other materials like fertilizer and waste in different directions in and out of the plant, which is why the California Energy Commission has serious concerns HECA's trucks could substantially increase traffic and potentially degrade the roads. Problems HECA has promised to fix if the trucks have a significant impact. Then there's the use of water. 6.6 million gallons a day, 7,500 acre-feet a year, enough to fill more than 3,700 Olympic-sized swimming pools every year.
It's valuable water for agriculture.
But the district the water comes from, Buena Vista, says the water isn't usable on farms.
We think that we're using water that would not be used productively within Buena Vista.
That's because the water it plans to pump would come from here, where the district says the groundwater is brackish or salty.
Yeah, you can feel the salt.
The district says it's been trying for years to sell the brackish water because moving salty water out would allow fresh water to seep in.
To us, we think we are actually adding to the supply by using this water.
A seemingly perfect solution. The only problem is some hydrologists, including the California Energy Commission, believe if salty water is pulled out, even saltier water will move in, the opposite of what the district wants.
We are looking at the same data and interpreting it in 2 different ways.
The Energy Commission also says the district plan could overdraft our groundwater and cause subsidence or ground sinking. Additionally, farmers say this brackish water can be used on crops outside the district if it's blended with cleaner water.
This is very usable water. It's been proven through scientific studies that you can use water that's even more brackish for crops like pomegranates, pistachios, and cotton.
Buena Vista says it would have sold water to farmers, but no one ever asked. HECA, on the other hand, put up the cash, spending $20 to $30 million to drill wells and another $3 million a year for water. Money the district says it could use for district improvement projects.
I call that good business.
But opposing farmers call that a sellout.
At this point, the district's judgment is somewhat clouded by the prospect of, $3 million plus a year in income.
So where does HECA get all of this money to buy water, pollution credits, and new roads? According to the Department of Energy, it's federal funding. HECA has already spent $150 million of its $408 million allotment, and the plant hasn't even been approved.
That's not right.
On top of that, the California Energy Commission says Occidental of Elk Hills, the company agreeing to use the CO2, is discussing its continued participation in the project. And without a place to put the carbon dioxide, this piece of land may never see HECA built. HECA is still pushing forward even with feedback like this. Still to come, pages of potential impacts to the county, but local officials won't take a stance. Why Kern County is at the mercy of the state when it comes to hydrogen energy. Okay. With all of HECA's potential impacts on the county, the Board of Supervisors here has yet to take a stance on the project. Officials say that's because the only agency with decision-making authority is the California Energy Commission. One by one, we asked each supervisor to tell us how they feel about HECA. No one seemed to want to touch the issue, except Supervisor David Couch, whose district encompasses HECA's proposed site.
I still have a lot of concerns about it, and I think the board does as well, the county staff does as well.
But does that opinion really matter?
Ultimately, I think the answer to that is no.
That's because under state law, the California Energy Commission has the sole permitting authority over every power plant that generates 50 megawatts or more. What supervisors could do is vote to support or oppose the plant. To this date, they haven't.
Could we have taken a stronger position one way or another? I suppose you could always say we could have done that in almost any case, but we did what we thought was the prudent thing to do.
Sending this 40-page document to the Energy Commission with a laundry list of concerns. An agency that has taken a stance, the EPA, raising a variety of concerns in its 22-page response to the California Energy Commission, categorizing the plant as an environmental concern with insufficient information. But behind the opinions of decision makers lie the emotional arguments.
We're opposed to this plan 100%.
Not many projects of this size come along.
Families who live near the site,
as a crow flies, mile,
want to leave.
It seems like we're up against a monster.
We ought to grab it and embrace it and make it happen.
But after 6 years of applications, the plant hasn't been embraced yet by the California Energy Commission, the only organization that can say heck yes or heck no to HECA. Now that you're in the know, when will a decision be made about HECA and how can you weigh it? Details next. Now the question is, when could this plant be approved? Well, it's up to the California Energy Commission, a decision that's been delayed repeatedly as staff continue to pour over information, which means you can still weigh in. We have a link to where you can comment on our webpage, kerngoldenempire.com. Just click on the tab Hydrogen Energy. Also on the web, extended information about HECA, like where its air credits were earned, stories of families near HECA, and a breakdown of the dirtiest power plants in Kern County. Finally, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Katie Roosh.